Chapter 19. Real robbers seize the box of gold. Our focus question today is, why were the men staying in the haunted house? Before I start the reading, I want you to keep these questions in mind. Why were the men staying in the haunted house? What belief did Tom and Huck have about Friday? How did that belief come true in this chapter? What other belief of Tom's came true in this chapter? And what do you think Outlaw Joe's revenge job might be? Explain your answer. So, let us begin. Chapter 19. Real robbers seize the box of gold. Two men entered the house. One was the old deaf and mute man who had been around town once or twice lately. The boys had never seen the other man before. He was a ragged creature with nothing pleasant in his face. The deaf and mute man was wrapped in a cloak. He had bushy white whiskers, long white hair flowed from under his hat, and he wore green spectacles. When they came in, the other man was talking in a low voice. The two men sat down on the ground, facing the door, with their backs to the wall, and the stranger continued his remarks. His words became more distinct. "No," said he. "I've thought it all over, and I don't like it. It's dangerous." "Dangerous!" grunted the deaf and mute man, to the vast surprise of the boys. "You're a chicken!" This voice made the boys gasp and quake. It was Outlaw Joe's. There was more silence for some time. Then Joe said, "It's no more dangerous than that job we did up the river. We never got caught for that one." "That's different." "Well, what's more dangerous than coming here in the daytime? Anybody would suspect us that saw us." "I know that, but there wasn't any other place as handy after this last job. I want to stop using this shanty as our hideout. I wanted to yesterday, only it wasn't any use trying to leave those infernal boys playing over there on the hill right in full view." At this remark, the boys thought how lucky it was that they remembered it was Friday and decided to wait a day. They wished they had waited a year. The two men got out some food and had lunch. After a long and thoughtful silence, Joe said, "Look here, you go back up the river where you belong. Wait there till you hear from me. I'll take the chance on dropping into St. Petersburg just once more for a look. We'll do our dangerous job in St. Petersburg when the time is right. Then for Texas. We'll go there together." This was satisfactory. Both men presently started yawning, and Joe said, "Oh, I got to sleep. It's your turn to watch." Joe curled down in the dirt and soon began to snore. His comrade prodded him once or twice, and Joe stopped snoring. Presently, Joe's comrade began to nod. His head drooped lower and lower, and both men began to snore. The boys drew a long, grateful breath. Tom whispered, "Now's our chance. Come." Huck said, "I can't. I'd die if they woke up." Tom urged. Huck held back. At last, Tom rose slowly and softly and started home. But the first step he made brought such a hideous creak from the crazy floor that he sank down almost dead in fright. He never made a second attempt. The boys lay there counting the dragging moments till it seemed an eternity had gone by. They were grateful to know at last that the sun was setting. Now one snore ceased. Outlaw Joe sat up and stared around. He smiled grimly upon his comrade, whose head was drooping upon his knees. Joe woke the comrade with his foot and said, "You're a fine watchman, ain't you?" "All right, though nothing's happened." "My, have I been asleep?" "Oh, partly. Nearly time for us to be moving. What'll we do with the loot we've got left?" "I don't know. Leave it here as we've always done, I reckon. No use to take it away till we start our south for Texas. 650 in silver is a heavy load to carry." "Well, all right. It won't matter if we come here once more." "No, but I'd say come in the night as we used to do. It's better." "Yes, but look here," said Joe. "It may be a good while before the time is right for that job in St. Petersburg. The loot we've got is not in a very good place. We'll just bury it, and bury it deep." "Good idea," said the comrade. He walked across the room, knelt down, and tilted up a wide, flat stone. Underneath was a bag that jingled pleasantly. He removed $20 or $30 for himself and as much for Outlaw Joe. Then he passed the bag to Joe, who was on his knees in the corner now, digging with his knife. The boys forgot all their fears and miseries in an instant. Good luck! It was beyond all imagination. $600 was money enough to make half a dozen boys rich. Here was the treasure hunting of the best kind. There would not be any doubt as to where to dig. They nudged each other for a moment. These nudges were easily understood, for they simply meant, "Now ain't you glad we're here?" Joe's knife struck something. "What is it?" said his comrade. "Half-rotten plank." "No, it's a box, I believe. Here, give me a hand and we'll go see what it's here for." "Never mind, I've got it." He reached his hand in and drew out, "Man, it's money!" The two men examined the handful of coins. They were gold. The boys above were as excited as the men and as delighted. Joe's comrade said, "It'll take us forever to get all that treasure with that knife." The comrade got up and looked around for something to dig with. His face lit with delight as he spotted the tools that Tom and Huck had left downstairs next to the fireplace. "What luck, Joe!" the comrade announced. "Look what I found." He brought the boy's pick and shovel over to Joe. Outlaw Joe took the pick and looked it over critically. He shook his head, muttered something to himself, and then began to use the pick. The box was soon unearthed, and it was not very large. It was iron and had been very strong before the slow years had rusted it. The men looked at the treasure a while in blissful silence. "There's thousands of dollars here," said Outlaw Joe. "They say the Murrells gang used to be around here one summer," the comrade observed. "I know it," said Outlaw Joe, "and this looks like their treasure, I should say." "Now, you won't need to do that job." Outlaw Joe frowned. Said he, "You don't know me. The job ain't robbery, it's revenge." A wicked light flamed in his eyes. "I'll need your help in it. When it's finished, then, Texas. Go home to your wife and kids and stand by till you hear from me." "Well, if you say so. What'll we do with this? Bury it again?" "Yes," Joe said slowly. And the boys upstairs felt a surge of delight. "No, wait," Joe continued. And then the boys felt great distress. Joe frowned and then looked around. Then he said, "That pick had fresh dirt on it." The boys were sick with terror. What business has a pick and shovel here? What business with fresh earth on them? Who brought them here? And where have they gone? Have you heard anybody? Seen anybody? If we bury it again, they'll come see the ground disturbed. We won't let that happen. We'll take the treasure to my den." "Why, of course. Might have thought of that before. You mean hiding place number 1? "No. Number 2. Under the cross. The other place is bad. Too common." "All right. It's nearly dark enough to start." Outlaw Joe got up and went from window to window, cautiously peeping out. Presently, he said, "Who could have brought those tools here? Do you reckon the owners can be upstairs?" And that concludes today's reading. So, along with your workbook, you also have the textbook work, which is pretty slow. We have our vocab review. I'll read the top to bottom. Intruder, bay, isolated, utterly, pick, immortal, trifle, and insecure. Remember, you can find these words probably in the back and also at the beginning of each chapter that we've read. For each item, write the correct word. 1. Another word for howl is blank. 2. Somebody who enters into something without permission is an blank. 3. A slight amount is a blank. 4. Another word for completely is blank. 5. A digging tool with a pointed metal head is a blank. Comprehension. I told you to keep these questions in mind during our reading. Why were the men staying in the haunted house? What belief did Tom and Huck have about Friday? How did that belief come true in this chapter? You can think about their belief from the last chapter, lesson 108. 4. What other belief of Tom's came true in this chapter? 5. What do you think Outlaw Joe's revenge job might be? Explain your answer. Your writing portion today. Many of Tom and Huck's beliefs seem to come true. For example, Friday would have been unlucky for them, and there really was treasure buried in the haunted house. Write a story about somebody who has a belief. Show whether that belief comes true. Think about the following questions before writing your story. Who is your main character? What belief does the character have? What does the character do based on that belief? Do things turn out the way the character expected? What does the character learn from the way things turn out? Make your story at least 80 words long. If you're having trouble thinking of a character, think of the beginning of the year when I had you create one. Maybe use them. All right. Best of luck on lesson 109.